I don't know what I'm gonna say. I didn't. I mean, like I have notes, but they're just match notes. They're not like topic point notes or whatever. But
I have no notes. We're just gonna wing it.
cool, wing it. Um, and that'll be the beginning of the episode before the intro. Welcome to Red Stars Report, a podcast for fans of Chicago Stars FC and a community for everyone. I am your host, LT.
And I'm your co-host Liz.
The Chicago Stars played their home opener today as we're recording this. I just got back. It was cold. It was rainy. Um, Anybody who sort of stuck that out, good for you. The players were certainly happy in the post-match presser that the fans stuck around to cheer them on, but they lost 2-1 to Houston, which was unfortunate. They did have the lead 1-0 at one point. Very quickly, it became 1-1 on a play sort of off of a corner, not directly off the corner, but sort of like a reset off the corner. And then the final goal was just just a whole lot of not covering players and just wide open passes. So it was unfortunate, but I think they did play better than they did the previous week. There were certainly some moments of like, oh, this team has like players that can actually, do something. And they were really taking what Houston was sort of giving them in certain moments, whereas Orlando just wasn't, giving them any opportunity to do anything. Overall, I think it was fine. It was a fine match. It was um, a struggle in those moments where they gave up goals, and then some struggles in other moments that led to not goals, which was good. But they actually like did some stuff on offense and had six shots on goal. So overall, I think it was fine. Another loss sucks to still have 0 points and at the bottom of the table, but at least we know that it just wasn't another, 6-0 loss. So that's good
Uh,
in my opinion.
Positives. Yeah, I don't know. I was really excited the way they started the game. They were possessing, they were pressing, they were making Houston struggle from time to time. I really thought that we would capitalize like right out of the gate, which I mean, we scored in the first 20 minutes. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say that we didn't like score quickly, but I felt like we really could have pressured them a little bit more because Houston was fumbling in the first 10 minutes of that game. Like they were really not having it. I think it was, they didn't expect us to press because why would you expect us to press? Because I was very floored by it. Um, I want to just take a moment to mention that I was a little confused by some of the choices of the coaching staff for the starting lineup, which I'm sure we will get into at some point. Um, but yeah, I just thought that it was exciting to see Sam Staub get back in the starting lineup. That's always a good thing. She just steadies everything out there. And then obviously Ludmila was back after the suspension. And so we are seeing more of what we expected the starting lineup to look like for the season. And as we go further into the season, I think we're going to see it become more what we thought it was going to be. But yeah, I think everybody played well. I mean, yeah, we had a couple miscues. I will say the goal that Paige Nielsen had off of that corner was absolutely fluke, like the flukiest of the flukes. Like I watched the replay 3 times of it. Essentially, Sophie Schmidt sticks her foot out and it deflects off of her. It deflects off one of our defenders' shoulders. I can't recall who, and then bounces right in front of Paige, and then she knocks it in. Like Okay, yeah, our marking could have been a little bit better and not let Paige get inside position, but like,
Yeah, that did
what are you
happen.
supposed to like? What are you supposed to do? I mean, that
Cover
is
your
like,
mark.
but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the ball could have landed anywhere. Like, it just happened to land right there, which again, yes, cover your mark. But if like Schmidt literally just throws her foot at it, she's not. Paige Nielsen said at halftime, you were at the game, so you didn't hear what she said, but
Mhm.
they interviewed her at halftime, and she even said, "Yeah, we've worked on that play." And I'm like, "There is no way you worked on that specific thing that happened. There is no way. Yes, you worked on your corner kicks and your set pieces, but anyway, I just had to throw that out. I'm like, you did not work on that happening
See, I
because
thought you
that
were
was the
about
luckiest
I
thing."
thought you were about to say that she admitted that it was just like an accident sort of, and I was going to say players are always taught in those interviews never to say anything was an accident.
No,
So,
it was planned. It was
yeah,
totally
of course it
planned.
was planned. That's what you're trained to say in those interviews, especially with those like crosses or whatever, the shot crosses. It's like, did you mean to
Yes,
shoot that? And it's like you're supposed to say, of course
absolutely.
I meant to shoot that. Like even if it was the most obvious pass in the world, if it goes in, you meant to shoot it. So
I do want to
I get
say,
you there.
shout out to my co-host over on the hydration break. We did a predictions video, and Lindy very specifically stated, "Watch out for Paige Nielsen on things happening in the box," and that's exactly what happened.
That's what
So
happened.
just wanted to give Lindy a little shout out on that because she did call that happening.
Nice. That's good. Yeah, Paige Nielsen, yeah, not like
That's what she does.
not the biggest name in the NWSL, but she's a worker. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you got a marker. Um,
Well, speaking of getting worked, Jamise Joseph worked her on the
that's
goal that she
true.
scored.
This is a good point. Let's talk about that because that was awesome.
Yeah.
The B Franklin going back into the center back position again for the second match in a row. The B center back era is still alive and well. Uh, her long passes are great. They've always been great. I've always thought, even going back to watching her college film, she's got she's got a leg on her. She can kick it downfield. Um, so when she hit that ball, it was like I don't know where this is going to land, but I know that even if it lands next to a Houston player, Meese is going to body them and win that ball. And it was sort of right in between the Nielsen and Meese, and Nielsen did get to it first, and then Meese bodied her off of it, and in classic Meese fashion, I'm pretty sure she does that at least two or three times a match, just pushing someone off the ball to win it and get it downfield. And she finished it. And I think that's all you can ask of a forward is to just finish their shot. You gotta put it in the back of the net or you gotta get it on goal. And last season there was a lot of not getting it on goal when we did get those opportunities. So good on me for actually putting it on target, getting it past Campbell, and getting it in the back of the net. And then, of course, B. Franklin's first professional assist, which is, one of many to come. I think she has the eye for finding her teammates. So I don't think that's just a one off. I think you'll see that more often this season.
Yeah, I agree. Joseph has this tendency that I've noticed over last year and now into this year. She's so good at catching the tiny mistakes a defender, goalie, whoever it is, makes. Nielsen hesitated for a second on the ball and decided to play it off the bounce instead of like trying to bring it in. And that little mistake gave her just enough time to sneak in there, get her off the ball, and then go. And that's the thing. That's not just a good thing for Jamise. B played a ball in that made it tricky because Nielsen was trying to decide what to do. She was facing the goal. she was facing that end of the field. So she was trying to decide, okay, where do I go? Where do I turn? Where do I have space? And Jamise is like, okay, hey, you're gonna wait on this and hesitate. I'm just gonna go get it. And
Yeah.
it's that playing a ball that makes a keeper or a defender think and have to hesitate. And if they have to hesitate, and to have forwards that are willing to throw themselves out there and be like, okay, I'm going to go after this, like you're going to win those balls, not all the time, but you're going to win some of them. And then to slot it past Jane Campbell, who thought she was going far post, but then she slotted it near post. Super smart play. It was great.
Yeah, she knows the exact amount of time she needs from the distance that she is from a defender, whether or not to approach them in that manner. I don't know. I don't know a better way to say it. Um, yeah, and the second that ball bounced, she was like, "I have the distance to get to her and get in front of her," and she did, and she killed it. Um, Unfortunately, the results did not end in favor of Chicago after that goal, but it is Chicago's first goal of the season. Jamise Joseph, whoever out there said that Mies would be the first one to score a goal for Chicago this season. Good on you. Mies also, I think there's like, oh no, the poll just ended. Look at that. This is perfect.
Perfect timing.
Mies did get 72% of the player of the match vote for the Red Stars Report Discord. So that's as much as I expected. I know that the Discord loves defenders, but when Mies scores a goal, you she's gonna win player of the match. So if yeah, we do this every single week, player of the match after every match. If you want to join in on us, just or join in on those polls, just go to our Discord, join. There's a link in the description and literally every other place that you find Red Stars Report. We are always trying to get more people in the community, and there's obviously more to do than just polls. But if you want to vote for player of the match, then go do that and wait for the end of the match. And it's usually up in a timely manner. It depends on when I get to it. It's usually when I'm sitting in the post match presser. I'm typing it away.
I always forget to vote, so don't be me. I see it and then
Yeah,
I'm like, oh yeah, I should
we
vote, and then I forget.
we've there's been a campaign, a solo campaign by me to try to get Liz to vote every week, and this season I'm pretty sure I've failed. I don't know if
I
you
haven't voted
voted.
once yet. But I looked at it today because I was looking to see who everybody was voting for, and I was like, I don't know who I would vote for. I'm like, I would like to vote for Jamise, but I was like, I don't want to vote for the goal scorer just because it's the goal scorer. But then I was like, I feel like that's the choice,
Yeah,
and then I forgot. So, and
yeah.
then I saw that it ended.
I opened it up. I don't know, like an hour after I posted it because I hadn't voted yet either. And the fact that there were so many votes on Mies, I was like, I don't even have to think about this. I'm just gonna click on her because I want that percentage to go up higher.
I should have just done that.
I was like, I'm not gonna like skew her. Like she's already gonna win. I don't want to like skew the percentage. So I just want like I probably would have voted for
She
her anyway if I thought about it, but
she looks good this year.
she does. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like about the way that she just controls the ball when it comes to her and the way she controls it at her feet when she's taking on defenders. And just like her decision making when she has her back to goal to do different turns or passes to other people. Um, I don't know. She's so intelligent when she's out on that pitch, and I can't get enough of it. I think Mies is a great young player who could grow into much more if she has the right guidance and obviously maintains the right mentality that she seems to currently have. I yeah I'm all for Mies. I'm on the Mies train, whatever that is.
Yep,
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. I think that she is. I know last year we talked a lot about how she would be a really good sub. And I think that this season and towards the end of last season, even with people being out on the front line, she is kind of solidifying herself potentially as being that starter. Um,
Mm.
I still think back to the playoff game, what she did to Anna Morehouse, and now this sort of play and her willingness to be physical and be active and do all of those things. I think that she's definitely trying, obviously, when we get a full front line, whenever that may be, it could change things. But I think that for now, she is definitely kind of that star player on the front line.
I think it's interesting that she sort of started the match sort of playing that nine role. So they could have Shay sort of on the outside, and then they kind of put Ludmila and Mies on the outside, the wings, and then they would swap positions. And it was working, I think, for Mies in some manner. I didn't think this match necessarily worked out for Ludmila. um I thought it was just, I mean, I kind of felt like the first match that she played last season, it sort of seemed like she was like just trying to get back, find her footing, find um, the connections that she has built with certain teammates in preseason. She didn't really seem like herself out there, and I don't know if that's probably why they were sort of throwing her all around the field to see where she could find space and where she could sort of try to take control, but it didn't really seem to work out. So hopefully next week she's a little more settled in and can start being the Ludmila that we remember from the last few matches of last season when she was just on a tear.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I kind of expected her to be an instant impact again, and I didn't get that. But Jamise was really good this game. And I thought that at times, and I don't know if it was all the shifting around that they were doing when they were trying to press, there were multiple times where one player was going to press and other people were hanging back, or two of them would go and one of them wouldn't. They need to get more in sync with what's happening, but I don't know if that's really because they were switching all over the place and nobody really was reading what was going on. So it worked. The press worked when they were doing it, but when one person doesn't go, it leaves an outlet. And so that at times was breaking down. But I did like it when they were doing it because they were definitely getting Houston to turn the ball over on a more frequent basis, which allowed us to possess the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, they didn't press as much this match as they have in previous matches last season. That was more of like a full team press, like that
Mhm.
kind of whole front line would sort of corner press, like try to press to the sidelines. This seemed more like a just like a strategic just step towards the player who has the ball with one player and see which side you can push them to, like depending on who, like which direction they went at them. But they weren't like pressing with someone else to sort of cover. So it seemed like the passes were just being completed anyway at times. But then when they would do like the team press, it would work. So I don't know what the strategy was behind just like one player like Mies or Ludmila sort of running at the back line for most of the match. But when others would press, when kind of Houston was sort of giving it to them, basically saying like, "Come do it, so we can try to get past you." It was working. Most of the match though, they kind of sat back again, which was unfortunate. I think they really sort of went back to the formation the shape that they were using last season, and not doing the new sort of shape that they implemented in that Orlando match. And I don't think the shape was necessarily the failure in that Orlando match. And I don't think it was necessarily the failure in this match either, but it was just interesting to see them sort of go back to their comfort zone of that like 4-4-2 sort of looking thing where like most people are in that low block in the near the box, and then there's just two forwards up high trying to win the ball.
I struggle when you're seeing success when you are doing a full team press and moving forward, and you're seeing success when we're possessing the ball to then decide to drop back and then say, okay, you can have the ball, you can possess the ball, you can bring the ball into our half of the field. I just don't understand that from a coaching perspective. And it's really frustrating. I know that there's a lot of people and fans that are frustrated as well because you see what they can do and you can see what we have offensively. And when our midfield does get the ball, there were times where we were bringing the ball forward and our midfield, they were looking up, they were seeing space, they were switching to the other side of the pitch. They were doing all the things that they should do. But then it's like, okay, we stopped. The second half, I feel like we just completely dropped back and just decided, especially after we
Yeah.
gave up the first goal, even, I feel like we decided to just stop all movement forward and just tried to sit back and then tried to counter. And I don't think you are going to win a lot of games in the NWSL doing that. You cannot give teams possession like that and expect to win.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that in the um, sort of beginning of the second half. The thing that I like, the first thing I wanted to say was, of course, they're not like the ability to press sort of like in a full team like the entire time is not possible because of,
No.
energy levels and stamina and all that stuff. So obviously that's not going to happen, but I just wish they would do it like a little more. Um, but when it comes to the second half, yes, in the beginning of the second half, I did feel like they just sort of fell off, kind of like in energy level, in willingness to score. And then the subs came in, and I think it got better for, I don't know, like 10, 15 minutes. And then it sort of near the end of the match kind of reverted back to I do think that the rain did play a factor. And it was the first rain match of the year. It's not super easy to play soccer in the rain. Obviously, they're trained professionals and they'll do whatever it takes to win, in no matter the conditions. But like some of the slipping and sliding, and it wasn't doing them any favors getting them the ball down the field. But yeah, I did think when the subs came in, things got a little better for a little chunk of time. It was nice to see MJ again. It was nice to see Mana again. I'm glad that these young rookies are getting playing time, even if it's in matches that this one necessarily wasn't out of hand because MJ did have some opportunities to tie it up, which was cool to see. But it is good that they're getting time, and then we saw Maitani for the first time playing in the midfield. So like slowly but surely, there's more faces that are becoming more comfortable out there playing, different energy levels, different mentalities, and then players who are injured slowly coming back, which is very beneficial for this team who started the year with a lot of injuries.
Yeah, it's been tough. I feel like we're slowly but surely getting there and I'm curious what it was like for Hannah Anderson to come off the bench after she started pretty much.
17 in a row.
Yeah, it was a
And then
lot. And
right
so
off the bench, 90 minutes, all 17 of those matches as well. And then
that's the
coming off
one
the
that I just
bench.
don't understand personally. I don't get it. I This is not a slight to B Franklin at all when I say this. At all. I think B has done a good job. I think that she is very much learning. Not that she didn't know. Had played some center back before, but I think she is doing a good job. I just don't know how you can have somebody that, as you just said, 17 games, 90 minutes, was a very solid rookie for us last year. Slid in when we lost Sam Staub, did such a good job. Somebody that we have talked about potentially, maybe we're biased, but saying that she should get looked at by the national team. But like for real, and then she's coming off the bench. And again, I know that Sam can't play full 90s. I personally if I were the one making the decision, and I'm not, but if I were the one doing that, I would be bringing B in off the bench and having Hannah out there with Staub because the general assumption that you'd have to make is that when Staub is fully healthy, that Hannah and Staub are going to be out there together. That would be my guess. So I don't understand why you're not playing them out there together when you can. I don't know. Maybe there's something else going on that I'm unaware of. I don't know, but I just thought that was an interesting lineup.
My guess would be um, perhaps it's easier for um, B. Franklin to sort of start the match and have a Hannah Anderson who has so much time at center back be comfortable subbing in and filling that spot rather than sitting B for a half and then having her come in and play a position that she's now only played twice. But I still don't see how you couldn't even just like start all of them and then slide people if necessary. That I guess um, I mean, playing a 45 or a 90 is not uncommon in the NWSL, so it's not like it was like resting any of them for um in substitution. At least I wouldn't imagine. So yeah, my thought is probably sort of like it's probably easier for a more experienced player to come off the bench than an inexperienced player. But like I said, I don't see how perhaps B could have started in the midfield and then you just move her back when Sam steps off and then sub in whoever you want in the midfield. I don't know why you would not put Hannah Anderson out there for a full 90. Because she's a good player and not a player that should be coming off the bench, in my opinion. When it does come to be playing center back, like I said, like you said, and I'll say it too, it's no slight to her. I think from match one of her playing center back to, well, she did play center back for, I don't know how many minutes, like 10, 15, something like that last season. To then starting that Orlando match playing center back to now, I think there was a very large improvement just in one match. When I was sitting up in the press box, all I could hear was her voice. Like it carries. And it like just every now and then, like I just hear players, you know, doing directions, making calls and stuff. And I would look and it would be B. And I'm like, that's who just like kept going into my ear was B's voice. So I can imagine that having a player with that kind of command on that back line is a very good quality to have for someone playing at center back because she was even calling out stuff to the forwards like to press and stuff like when Mana came in, like I could just hear B just telling her to press when Mana was playing up high. It's like so yeah, that I think that was a good quality to have. Maybe she'll remain at center back for her career. I don't know. But like you said, the Hannah's a fantastic center back. Sam's a fantastic center back. B is incredibly lucky that she gets to learn from both of them plus Alyssa. So yeah, I mean the team, as much as people want to talk about how thin the defensive line is, I think they have a lot of talent there, or at least a lot of potential. And then that's not even including Natalia Kuika, who hasn't played yet this season and will come back hopefully in a few weeks.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's a lot of conversation about how Chicago hasn't done this and Chicago doesn't have that and blah blah blah. There's people, there's bodies, there's people coming back that we will get back, and these players are doing well. Like B. Franklin switching into that role and now starting 2 games in a row. like it's impressive. Like that's an impressive thing to look at. And I know that people will probably be mad that we're trying to make a positive out of this game because we lost and everybody
I
wants to be
don't
a
care.
bunch of
People should know who we are by now.
But like truly, I have had the nickname Doomsday given to me and I'm over here finding the
I
positive and
think I
stuff.
softened you over the years. You've
I
heard too
just
much of my positivity.
Well, I see too many positives to take from a team that's in a rebuild. And like again, we talked about it last year. Yes, we made the playoffs, but we were in a rebuild. We are in a rebuild still, and we're missing some very key components right now to the team. And yes, we lost. We lost to Orlando. I would love anybody to tell me that they truly thought we had a chance in that game, and I guarantee you everybody's going to say no, we didn't. Should we have tied Houston? I think so. Should we have beat
Probably.
Houston? Probably. But did we? No. But is it the end of the world? No. And the commentators saying that this was a must-win game for both teams was one of the dumbest comments I've heard. Also, there was
I
people that
didn't
were
know that.
very, yeah, that was a comment that was made in the first half. It was, this feels like a must-win game for both these teams. It's the
No,
second game of the
I was
season.
gonna say there's the first and second, even the third, maybe fourth. Those matches are not must wins for any team. That you don't start talking about that for a while. That's crazy.
Blown away by the comments. And there were people getting a little upset about the number of times that they said red stars. I do forgive them for
Ah,
that. It's
it's
hard.
hard. We do it too.
I do it all the time and it's fine. And I don't care. Like they are, and then they were making sure because they must have gotten yelled at during that halftime because they were talking about somebody, I can't remember who it was, but it was Danny Colaprico because they were talking about how what she had spent X amount of
Yeah,
years with Chicago. And they said the Red Stars. And that's what they were called back then because somebody must have given him crap. And so it was
yeah.
kind of funny, but it was kind of hard seeing Danny play for Houston. I just have to add that in.
Yeah, I did take down my Danny jersey and put up my nerd jersey, but that wasn't any sort of slight to Danny.
No.
It's, I
We love Danny.
I own two of Danny's jerseys. Yeah, the I do the same thing, especially when you're talking about like a former player.
Yep.
When you're like they used to play for the Stars, and it's like, well, like did they?
No.
They though no, they played for the Red Stars. Like same
Yes.
organization, same club, but it's so weird to be like, oh yeah, Listenaire has been with the Stars for however many years, 10 years or whatever. And it's like, yeah, yes, but also longer. Like she was the Red Star longer. Like it's the same club, I understand. But yeah, talking about
Well, and
Danny
it's
too. It's like, yeah, Danny left the Stars 2 years ago. And it's like, let me look up
right.
when Danny left the Stars. It's like, oh no, she left the Red Stars. She didn't leave the Stars. It's
Well,
confusing.
and
So I understand the commentators.
it's also really hard because they did change the name to something that's so incredibly similar because they
Hmm.
dropped a word.
Yeah.
Now, when Sky Blue changed to Gotham, that is a complete change. So that's way easier to manage
Yeah.
than not saying the word red when you're saying stars. And it was kind of funny to the number of times that they were catching themselves and kind of laughing about it, but they did make that ridiculous comment that this was a must-win game, and I just had to share that because I know that you were at the
No.
game, so you didn't hear that.
That's not a that's not a must win.
No,
Um, Nothing's a must win this early.
no,
I was thinking about this. I know it was like a very different time in this league. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but the year that Chicago did have one of their worst losses in opening day history
you're gonna say it.
was 2021 against Portland, and they went to the championship that year. So was that Portland game a must win? No.
That was one of the worst games I have ever watched in my entire
It
life.
was. It was horrible. And I'm sorry to remind you of it. There's more than just the 5-0 score line to remember from that match that makes it heartbreaking. But to tie that in, it's losing 6-0 to Orlando and then losing 2-1 to Houston, who I still believe is going to be a good team this year, is not the end of the world. I still obviously I think this team needs improvement both in coaching and just players and their mentality and how they approach the matches, but it's not it's not the end of the world when you have two losses to start a season. Um, and it's never the end of the world anyway, because there's always next season.
Right. As spoken as a true Cubs fan, I love that.
That's
Um,
where I got it. It's ingrained in my brain
right?
my entire
Same,
life.
same, same. I will say that I've read a lot of comments where people say things like, we just lost to Houston. They were last in the league last year. This is not that Houston team, folks.
No,
It's a
different team,
totally
different
different team.
players, different coach. It's a completely different team. You're absolutely right.
And we're a
Yeah,
different team,
that's true too.
ish,
And
ish.
yeah, that's the other thing that I wanted to go back to when you were mentioning the team. It's like getting the players back and everything, and the quote unquote rebuild. Um, Last offseason was sort of like a surprise offseason, I think, for a lot of people. Bringing in people like Natalia Kuika, Sam Staub, drafting the rookies that we currently are, you know, throwing out there as our everyday starters. It's not it was not an off season that anyone expected, and I think it may have sort of tainted people's outlook on what this following off season or the current off season did for this season. And then you also have to add in the fact that they added Ludmila at the end of last season, and they added Julia Grosso at the middle-ish of last season. It's like they added so many players from that off season to during that season, and what added four players this off season, two of which have gotten a decent amount of minutes already. Or I guess five off players if you because Kat signed that injury replacement. Um, so when you look at that, and Lauren has spoken that when questioned last week about roster, how the roster looks, what he uh, if it looks like what he was hoping for and stuff. He mentioned that the club is still, as every club does, working on getting more players. That's how this works. It's not like off season's done. These are the 26 players that are going to be playing on this team until the end of the year. It's not That's not how this works. So things can change drastically in at any moment, especially because all the windows are gone now. There's no trade windows or whatever. So anybody can trade for anybody at any time, and things can change for every single team in this league week to week. So don't think that the 26 players or 27 players, whatever it is on this roster, are all going to be the 27, 26 that are here up until the end of the season.
Well, and I'm really getting sick of the narrative getting pushed by some of the media folks that Chicago didn't do anything in the offseason. You just said we signed four players. To me, that's doing something. Again, like we are all raving about Michaela Johnson. She was a signing this offseason. That's a big signing. And I know it's a 17-year-old, and I don't want to put a lot of pressure on her. I love that we're bringing her off the bench. I love that she's getting minutes, and she's contributing. I love everything that she's done so far. I'm just waiting for her to put one in the back of the net, and I think it's going to come. But I'm really over the narrative that Chicago didn't do anything because they made moves. There were other teams that made fewer moves than they did. There's teams that made more moves than they did. And we made more big moves, as you said, in the prior season. You're not going to have every offseason where you're signing a player of the caliber of Sam Staub and Natalia Kuika. That is not going to happen.
Especially
And we
when the
have
money is not transparent as well.
well,
So
and we just signed Mal to a huge contract extension and on top of it in that offseason. And so that's a lot of things right there that
yeah,
happened. Plus, we signed Alyssa back. We did a lot of things in that
there's
off
so
season. And
much.
so there's so many things. And so I'm like that's why I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, we also have a ton of players already under contract. So you can't add more players unless you're going to cut somebody at some point. And that means now, given the new CBA, which is appropriate, I'm not saying it's wrong, you have to pay out that contract. So money is a problem. It all counts towards the cap. Like it's all a thing. Like we can't just cut players, pay them, and then write more checks.
Yeah, and
So I think it's really hard.
it's not like the NFL where everyone can see how much money
Yeah.
a team has and who's getting what. So then, um, podcasters like us can come in here and be like, so this player could be worth this much money, and the Stars have this much cap space. So then they could probably sign this player if they give them a good deal. Like we can't do that. We don't know how much these players make. We don't know how much cap space this club has left. Um, so it's there's no transparency in that realm. So like we have no idea if the lack of giant, huge contract signings comes down to they don't have the money for that. We don't know. If they do, that's unfortunate, and hopefully they can find a player to fill that money. But if they don't have that money, you're not going to get anybody except a few rookies and by Tony Lopez. Like that's it.
Well, I think we scored a big one with Michaela Johnson.
Oh,
I
I think so
really
too.
do. Like I'm so excited. And I was excited when we signed her. I was all in. I love it. I can't say enough. From what I have seen in these first two games, I am I am so ecstatic for her growth because she's just going to get better. I guess we should mention while we're doing this that she just got called into camp. So she is going to be unavailable for the upcoming game against Racing Louisville, unfortunately, but she will be with the
Damn.
national team. So that's exciting.
Exciting, but damn. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to see more MJ. That's unfortunate. But
Yep.
yeah, congratulations to her. She's been killing it with U17. Um, I will continue to follow her in her national team journey as well, whether it's U17, U20, U23, um, all
Full national
those
team.
all those things, full national team if she gets to that point. Like we said, no pressure. um, yeah, and then the other, I know she hasn't played a ton of minutes, but it also sort of goes towards um, the like signings and who wants to be here and play here. Yuki Nagasato, who has retired from the NWSL, has gone into the media realm. She was actually a member of the media for this match, which was pretty cool. Um, and so Mana Hayashi signed with Chicago from Santa Clara. She did an interview with Yuki. Our buddy on the Discord, Tomo, was nice enough to translate the Japanese interview for us and give us some of the highlights. And one of the things was that she had multiple clubs reach out to her and she wanted to go to Chicago, which is one of the number one things that I always talk about when players sign with Chicago is if you want to be here, I want you here because there was a mess of a time when players did not want to be here. And when I hear that a player wants to be here and wants to come here and declined conversations or offers from other teams, I'm all about it. Like that's like number one for me when it comes to what I think about when a player signs here is they wanted to be here and I'm happy to have them. And so I'm happy to have Mana. I hope she gets more minutes. I hope she has more conversations with Yuki because I think a player like Yuki now stepping into the media realm can really sort of give more of a voice to those Japanese players in the league. And I think that's a really, really cool thing. And I hope she talks to Mana more and sort of, maybe perhaps could uh, mentor her, take her under her wing, whatever, give her tips, pointers. I mean, they both play midfield for a good portion of their careers. So yeah, I think that was a very cool thing to find out. Thing, very cool story. And I'm always happy when players want to be in Chicago.
Love Yuki. Love that. Love that they're kind of getting a relationship there. Obviously, Yuki loved Chicago as well. And so it's good. Yeah, as you said, I agree. It's always wonderful to hear players want to come here. We don't want to force people to be in Chicago, and we know that a lot of the players that are signing here in the last couple years want to be here. So that's always a good thing. And obviously now with all the new rules, people are not going to get traded to places they don't want to go. So there's that. But yeah, I'm excited to see Mana play more. I feel like when we're not playing Orlando because we didn't really get to possess the ball as much, we're going to see her more when she gets minutes. So
Mm.
I wouldn't mind seeing her more, not just pick up those last 10 to 15 minutes of the game. I would be okay with seeing more time, 30-ish or so
Yeah, like a
minutes just to
60-minute
see.
sub or something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to just see. I want to see what happens. But yeah, I think that she's going to be good as well. And it's a good thing to have players that we can have grow into this team because we're going to need people to replace the current players that we have. And yeah, who have them learn. I mean, Kara Recaro is probably a fantastic veteran to learn from. And obviously B plays back there as well, and has, and she obviously she was having a conversation with Mana on the field, and it was, I love it. I think that these rookies and these second year and third year players that we have on the team are all wonderful individuals, and I'm excited for the team looking forward, even if this season doesn't go how people want it to go. And I'm not saying that it's going to. I am not like the folks on the commentary saying that that was a must-win game. I'm just saying I'm excited for the future given what we are seeing from these younger players.
Yeah, and to that point, Carrie during media day, she did mention something because I had asked her about sort of being that player who wanted like that first player that wanted to be in Chicago and asked to be traded to Chicago because she mentioned how she there was a space like a big hole in that midfield and she thought she'd come in and sort of help guide that space into the future, but also spoke about how um, coming into the club, like she had like a fresh mind of like she's not burdened by whatever the past of the club was. And I think that's very, very important when it comes to every player, first, second, third years, all in this sort of new era um, of the stars, is they're not thinking about the past of this club and the hardships and the struggles and everything that sort of happened off the field with this club. They are, free to make this club what they want it to be and build it into and the environment that they can create in the locker room. Like Yuki also mentioned how or asked Mana about like settling in and Mana had talked about the um like being shy at first, but sort of growing into her personality and being more comfortable around the players. And it's like when you have good people in the locker room and like a good culture in that space, it's all the better for obviously the play on the pitch eventually, but the club as a whole eventually into the future and what the stars become. Like if you don't have um, the same problems and issues that the Red Stars dealt with in the past. And as players who did have to deal with that sort of leave this club, what you're left with is players who are entirely unburdened by the past and are only what the club only becomes what they make it. And I'm really excited to see that because I think there's a lot of good players on this club, both like good on the pitch and then good off the pitch. And I want nothing more than their off the pitch environment to help them succeed on the pitch.
I agree. I agree. Healthy environment all around for everybody on and off the field. But yeah, I'm excited. I think that there's a lot of potential, as you said. And I love the players that want to be here. That's you don't want players that don't want to be here. And Carey was smart. I mean, to get back to that for a second, why would you not, if you're a midfield player, why would you not have wanted to come to Chicago when their entire midfield left?
Yeah, it's true.
Well,
Like, yeah,
like
she
why?
did make a smart decision of being like, I will go there. I know I'm going to get minutes. I know I'm going to have the opportunity as a veteran to mentor younger players and sort of, build that culture. And I was very smart of her. And I commend her for that. It's so, yeah, I too am very excited about this club as a whole. I know it sucks when you lose.
Losing sucks.
Hopefully our podcasts are a little more helpful in losses. I know that the post match chats that we have sometimes in the Discord and that we used to have on Twitter were really helpful for people. They were definitely helpful for me. Sort of getting over losses. It's always excited to talk about wins, of course, and more people would show up to those post match pressers. But the losses, it's nice to talk through them. It's great to have this podcast, of course, to talk through them with you as well. I think you and I have become a lot more positive in the outlook of losses, regardless of how long we've sat with them. That Orlando match was tough-ish because, like you said, it was expected, but not like
Not
the
six
six
nothing.
the 6-0 was not expected, so that was a little harder to deal with. This one was like, I kind of went back and forth with it. Like I wasn't totally like upset or anything, and I came on here and I'm like, I got no notes. I got nothing. I just spent 2 hours in the freezing cold to to then drive home and do a podcast about a loss. But it's
It's tough.
it's whatever. Like, I do it because I love this community, and I love talking about this club, and win or lose, I will always do it, and that's why I'm here, and that's why you're here, and
Let's just get some more
that's how
wins.
we do this stuff. More wins would be nice. It's true. And
Now, what do you think they need to do to beat racing?
um,
I know
what
what
do
I
they?
think they need to do.
I
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go first, and let me
Okay.
sit on this for a sec.
So I know I just threw this at you. We have no notes. I'm throwing just
Yeah,
questions.
literally no notes, and my voice is gone.
So my thought is the biggest playmaker and by far one of the best midfielders last year in the NWSL was Taylor Flint. And she is very tall, as we all know, and our midfield struggles a lot. And so I think if we can somehow find a way to neutralize her, then we can have success because I think that their defense is not super great. Sometimes, like Lauren Malay likes to get really high. Ari Borges, who plays in the midfield, she's been kind of in and out with injury. I don't think she's 100% like back. She hasn't looked super great, in my opinion. She looked good in their first game. I didn't think she had as great of a second game. Obviously, like want to say we have no idea what's going on with Savannah DeMello. I don't believe she will probably be playing in the game. She unfortunately had to be taken off into the hospital. So I don't believe we're going to have, so they're going to be probably down her. So their midfield will be lacking there, but they've got some firepower. Emma Sears scares me a lot.
Yeah.
um, so because she's big, she is
Did I
good.
put her on my fantasy team? I don't remember if I put her on my
I
fantasy
did
team.
not because my front line's insane. I've got
I'm
other
gonna have to
insane
bench
players, but
her.
she's very good. But yeah, I'm worried about Taylor Flint because statistically she was like I think the top midfielder last year in the NWSL.
Yeah.
Because of distribution, she's really good at passing, which is weird because she was really bad at it. Now she's really good at it. And she obviously wins a ton of aerial duels. I don't know what we're going to do to neutralize her, but we need to be game planning for that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think putting someone like B or Maitani,
Yes.
taller, more physical players, up against her would be smart. Uh,
Shea
Lou-
Groom.
Louisville does like to play her a little higher up. So I maybe keeping B at on the defensive line would also be helpful, because sometimes they like to use Taylor as a like sort of pushing into that forward line. Um, yeah, I would agree that that is a big concern, sort of neutralizing her. It is unfortunate that Savannah DeMello may not be playing in this next match. The I like when teams are at full health. I like when teams go up against like when two healthy teams go up against each other. Like I like seeing those matchups more. I think those wins mean more. Um, so if Chicago was to win this next match, it's like I don't like excuses. Like I don't like hearing, oh, didn't have DeMello, they didn't have, um, just like how I wouldn't sit here and be like, oh, we only lost because we don't have Natu and we don't have Mal and we don't have blah blah blah. Like, yeah, those affect the matches, but I'm not going to sit there and say that they're the reason for losses because people need to step up and people need to win. But fully healthy head to heads are always really exciting. So it's unfortunate that the Mello may not be in that next match,
Yep.
depending on sort of what happens there with her health concerns. But yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with you. It's also unfortunate that Bethany Balser won't be with them either. She is on a mental health break from soccer. I wish her all the best. She's a great player. I've been a huge Bethany Balser fan since she got drafted into this league, and hopefully she can find the love for the game again because she's a fun player to watch. And I wish she was on the field against Chicago because another that's who you start. That's who I'd want to go up against. No excuses. So, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I would agree with you that that is definitely the biggest concern is sort of neutralizing their midfield.
Their biggest, tallest player.
Yes, who falls down a lot.
A lot. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I'm curious. I mean, they just lost to Bay 2-0 this weekend, so
I think
I,
Bay's
th-
a sneaky team, though.
I agree, but I also feel like that I think that we have a shot to get a win. We're
I
gonna be
think
at
so.
home.
Louisville always has our number, though.
I know that's why I'm like I think it's probably gonna end in a draw because Louisville loves
Louisville loves
draws.
draws. Yeah,
So that's my guess. It's just it's gonna suck to not have MJ, so that's
yeah, that is gonna
unfortunate.
suck. So
Maybe Jenna Bike will be returning from her sort of thing. I'm just thinking of who we can have come off the bench as kind of a spark player that if MJ is going to be unavailable. So hopefully somebody will be there. But yeah, I'm excited. I can't wait, and it'll be another home game. Hopefully the weather will be a little bit better
yeah,
this time.
hopefully the weather will cooperate this time. Yeah,
Another
so
Sunday game.
another Sunday game that's new this season. Very equal amounts of Sundays and Saturday matches. So that's going to be fun to keep track of. But you can keep track of it by continuing to listen to us.
Look at
If
that.
you may, I don't know what kind of segue that was, but hopefully it worked for you. Yeah, make sure you subscribe to our channel across all podcast platforms and YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a like. Helps others find our stuff so they can, watch content about the club that they love as much as we love it. Don't forget to join our Discord that I mentioned, link in the description and across every single place that you find Red Stars Report stuff. We love our community and hope you can be a part of it as well. Go to redstarsreport.com, keep up with the news. Maybe more opinion pieces are to come.
Already have one semi-written.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll be back next week. Talk about this Louisville match, preview the next match, and just talk about the Stars because we love the Stars. So we'll see you next week for another Red Stars Report.